Okay, in this video I want to show you guys how to make a tone match with the XFX3 of a real amplifier. I'm going to be using my Rev G dual rectifier for all of this and this PRS SC245. Before I get into it, this video is going to start with sort of the basic setups, make a very basic tone match, and then I'm going to show you how to go super in depth. It's essentially like the tweaker's guide to tone matching and which advanced parameters I like to tweak if I want to get even closer to the feel and response and get the right low end happening with the models in the axe tone match to the real amps, because as we know, real amps have lots and lots of quirky characteristics, and there's a lot of component variation from amplifier to amplifier. And you know, basically anytime you change the tubes, anytime you go and change, you know, get your amp service, and I know with my amp it's had not modifications, but it's had to be serviced a couple of times and have like cap changes and resistor changes and stuff like that. So it's probably not 100% stock. And with all of those things in mind, you know, it's like you've got a model of a Rev F rectifier in here, and I've got a Rev G. So there's sort of different circuit revisions, different components, and it's the classic thing, you know, the XFX3 has a really great sounding rectifier in it, but it doesn't have my rectifier in it. So I want to show you guys how I would go about essentially cloning the DNA of my amp and coding it into the XFX3 by using a real microphone and a real cabinet and doing that. And in a separate video, I'll show you how to do it using a load box and essentially a DI version of all of this, which is a little bit cleaner and easy to do. Let's get into it. Okay, let's go over the ins and outs. So, output number 3 on the XFX3, which is right there, is coming into my amp, which is this Mesa dual rectifier Rev G. I'm not using the X load at the moment, but there's a speaker cable going all the way down here into the other room where I've got my Marshall 412 mic'd with an SM57. It's pretty noisy. There we go. There's that. And then the mic cable's coming back out. And ideally, if you're doing this, run it into a mic pre, but just for the sake of this video, I'm just running it straight back into input 2 left of the XFX3. Then my guitar's obviously going into input 1. So that's how to set all the ins and outs up. Let's have a look at how to do the preset, how to lay it out, and how to actually match your amp. Okay, let's have a look at how to set up the layout. If I hit the C button, it will take me to the grid, and what I've got is input 1 immediately being split to output number 3, which is going to the amp, and then I've got an amp and a cab block here. The amp I've selected is the Recto 1 Red. I've basically gone for the same settings on the amp as the real rectifier. I do have my rectifier on tube rectification, so what I do is turn the supply sag up on the amp, which I think helps get the sort of right squishy feel. And then for the cabinet, I've got a user cab, which is an actual impulse that I shot of that very cab, same mic position. I've got another video on how to do that, which I will link in the video description, so I won't go into too much depth there. But what we can do now is, once you've got sort of close to the tone you're aiming for, so you've dialed in the amp block, you've dialed in the amp, what we're going to do is replace the cab block with a tone match block, which is right here. And then let's have a look at how we're going to set up the tone match block. If we page across, you can see over here that we are going to select input number 2 as our reference source. So that's the microphone coming from the cabinet. And then we've got the reference channel is left, so I'm using the left input, and the local channel, so this is going to be the amp and, well, in this case, just the amp model. And then I can reference the actual amplifier. So when I turn that on, you can hear that there's a lot of hiss because the amp in the other room is pretty loud. So what we can do once we've got all of that set up is we can hit start both here and we can play some guitar, and this is going to help us get a tone match IR. Let's go ahead and do that. And then all I had to do was hit match, and I'm going to get a tone match now. So if I use this E button here, I can turn the solo well, I can solo the reference, which is the amp. So this is the amp. And that is the tone match from the Axe effects. It's a lot louder than the amp, so I can go back across and I can turn the reference level up, which is going to give us this. Let's try 6 dB to start with. And I can just use this control to go between Axe and amp. Here's Axe. So what it sounds like at the moment is that I've got too much gain on the Axe effects. That's very easy to fix. We can go back to the amp block and simply turn the gain down. I might tweak the supply sag a little bit, turn it back down, say to about 4. And basically you can go back and forth using this process to sort of nail the amp tone. It's already really close, but let's try that. If we go back to the tone match block, let's try, so this is Axe. And that sounds a lot closer, so let's go back and redo the amp match. Now let's A/B them. We've got Axe. So it's getting closer. The Axe, I think, is a little stiff sounding in comparison. So if we go back to the amp block, what I'm going to do is add a little bit of speaker compression. We can do that here in the, where is it? In the dynamic section. No, not the dynamic section. I'm getting it confused with the speaker drive section, which is, we just got to sort of scroll across till we get it. I might be thinking in terms of Axe edit terms here. Let's go to the advanced parameters. And it should be there in speaker drive. Let's keep going. Maybe I'm going crazy. I can't remember where this is. Master power user of the Axe effects. Can't remember where anything is. Let's try this. Ah, it's in the speaker menu. What an idiot. In Axe Edit, there is a separate tab called Speaker Drive. But here, I'm going to turn the speaker compression up a bit and see if that gets us a little bit closer to the actual amp. That seems to be helping. I'll go back to the amp block. I'm just going to crank it, because why not? I think it sounds pretty good. It's getting there. Let's tone match again. And let's have a listen to that now. Axe. It's kind of like a low honk going on there. So to get that even closer, what we can do is, let's just play around with the speaker low resonance frequency. I might bring that down just a little bit. Say we try 100 Hertz. I think 100 Hertz is a little bit too low, so let's bring it back up. Let's say Let's even go up to like 115 and see how that works. Yeah, it's sort of in that ballpark. It's not quite there. So I'll go back down to like 110. What I'm going to do is bring just the low resonance down a little bit because the axe doesn't sound well, the axe sounds a bit thicker than the real amp, which I think is probably a good thing, but we can bring that down. Say we try 4 and then A-B them. And again, we could go back and tweak that out. Let's try like 4.5. And I might even just, oh, let's try that for now. I might actually bring the speaker compression down a little bit because that's pretty extreme. Let's try it at around, say, 6. And that is pretty cool. I mean, that is a sort of deep dive if you really, really wanted to capture your amp. This isn't dissimilar to the way you would refine a profile with a Kemper. What I can do now is like I can go back and amp match it again. And then we can have a listen to that. And it sounds like, again, I haven't quite got the gain right on the Axe FX. So let's go and do that. Bit more gain. That's feeling a lot better already. So, like I was just about to say, this is kind of like refining a profile on the Kemper. Anyone who's spent any time with the Kemper, I'm not bashing it in any way, it is a great product, but it does have this kind of like nasal mid-honk thing that it does, and I'm not getting that from the Axe 3, which I really like. It seems all of these kind of modelers, as people have discussed, if you want to get the low end right, you really have to go in and tweak it out. If you want it to sound exactly the same as your amp, and as I said in my last video, it's sort of like, does that even matter? Because they both sound really good. But if you do want to go and match this to your real amp, as I've hopefully just shown, you've got all the parameters there to do it. I've only played around with the supply sag and the speaker compression, but you can change the frequency of where the depth control sits, where the bass, mid, treble controls sit. Play around with the tone stack. You can absolutely tweak this out to your heart's desire. I thought the original tone match was pretty close and sort of, that old thing, good enough. What's good enough depends on the player, of course, but that's how I make a tone match of a live amp. You can do a very similar thing using a load box if you want to do that. I actually find the load box is quicker and easier than using the live amp. And obviously there's other factors, like for example, if you use different microphone preamps and different microphones with all of this, you're going to have to make different tone match profiles. The last thing you can do with all of this is you can, in the tone match section, as you can see it's showing a really nice IR there, is basically go, okay, cool, choose a new user slot, and we can rename it. I'll give this a $sign because it's sounding pretty money, and basically just hit export, which is the A button, and then enter. And we have got our tone match saved as an IR, which we can use in other patches, which is super handy. So there is like the in-depth tweaker's guide to making a tone match of your live amp. What I'm going to do in another video is probably using the DI method, is just match a bunch of my amps and put it into a preset and upload it for you guys to try. So if you enjoyed the video, please hit the subscribe button, tell me what you thought about it in the comments, and if you're an Axe 3 user, I will make this tone match available for you, which essentially is like turning a Rev F model into a Rev G model, which I think is pretty cool. And for all the Mesa nerds out there, you know that the Rev Fs and the Rev Gs generally sound a little bit different, so that's another factor into all of this. you know, it's all good stuff. Alright, so now that everything is said and done, what I have done in the amp block of the Axe-Fx 3 is just added an ST1 input boost, and this is what it sounds like. It is very, very satisfying to play. Enjoy!